Kalimera, kalispera, kalinichta. No matter where in this wild, wacky, and sometimes wonderful world you might be, thank you for making the Highbury Squad part of your day. It's a new week, it's a blank canvas, and we've got the Arsenal legend here to break it all down for us. Monday Madness, let's go.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
Turns out I'm muted. Welcome to the show and welcome my podcast brother from another mother, Mr. Super Kevin Campbell. Bosh!
Hello, squaddies, and I hope you're well. Thanks for joining us. Let's get stuck into a good show of Monday Madness, the Campbell Classico. At ease.
Super Kev, it definitely was the Campbell Classico. By the way, a lot of our listeners absolutely loved that we dubbed it the Campbell Classico, by the way. Very, very cool. Now, listen, guys, I am in the middle of nowhere. I didn't realize I was on mute. Super Kev kindly pointed that out to me. Thank you so much. Last time we were all together was actually a week ago today, myself and Super Kev on Magic Mike's Podathon. And by the way, Kev, a massive round of applause to the Arsenal community for what they've done.
Support, unbelievable support.
Absolutely smashing the 30K barrier. Just brilliant stuff, really incredible. And, you know, you can still go over to goonersvcancer.com, keep donating. Some really epic stuff coming up as well from Magic Mike on that front. If there's a little bit of a delay, don't you worry about it. I'm going to get souped up internet fitted into my mum and dad's house, Kev, on Wednesday, courtesy of me. That's right. I'm going to splash out the 5G high, whatever they call it these days, fiber. So there'll be no delays. And I was trying to hide that the wrong date was on the backdrop here as well. But you know what? Let's give 0 Fs and let's get stuck right into this. A brilliant result for the Gunners at the weekend. We broke the duck, quack, quack, Goodison Park, finally. And Mikel Arteta and this team broke a lot of ducks last season. And it's absolutely epic to see them breaking a major duck this season already. We're going to start the show off with Kev's kickoff. He was there. He was on the sideline. He was among legends. Maybe saw a couple of key executives from the Arsenal. Super Kev, over to you for Kev's kickoff.
Yeah, lovely day. I've got to say, I had a lovely day over with. I was in the Winslow, and both sets of fans what came in there. Great atmosphere. You know, this is one of the old school massive games, isn't it? These two clubs going toe to toe, and I know that the clubs are kind of their fortunes have dwindled away for Everton a little bit, and Arsenal's have moved on. And do you remember Arsenal played Everton when Arteta took over, and then Ancelotti took over the same day? Could you remember? And they both were in the stands. And the game was a crap game, finished 0-0 3 years ago. And look at the fortunes of the clubs now. Ancelotti's no longer there. Mikel Arteta's, is putting together a title challenging squad. And I thought that's what really shone on the day. I thought to myself, we know it's going to be a tough game at Goodison. The key is the 12th man plays a massive part for Everton. It really does, the fan base. But I've got to say, Arsenal, the way they came out, they quietened the crowd. And they kept the ball. They just kept it moving, prodded and probed. And obviously Martinelli scored, which should have been a good goal. it was chalked off for whatever reason. VAR working its magic again. But I thought it was just a matter of time, Sophie, if I'm honest. Arsenal didn't allow Everton to build up ahead of steam. I don't think David Raya, which I'm sure we're going to cover later on in the show, I don't think he had a save to make. So, whatever he done pretty well. But it was just a matter of time. Can Arsenal open Everton to hurt them? And a couple of the corner routines were whipped in. But I think that's why you saw Zinchenko pointing at Mikel Arteta. I think they started to use the shorter corner more because Everton weren't adjusting to the short corner. I particularly remember seeing that against Doncaster. And Arsenal have got onto it, and they've made it pay. Fantastic goal by Trossard, and 1-0 to the Arsenal solve. But disappointing from Everton. Arsenal are playing at 60-65% of their capacity because as an attacking force, we're not there yet. Saka ain't quite there. Martinelli, Trossard, although he came on and scored. Eddie, Jesus. Havertz came on. I thought he done okay when he came on as well. So that's the part of the team that we need to click. But everywhere else, goalkeeper, defensively, midfield, I thought Declan Rice, Zinchenko, Ødegaard, I thought they were absolutely outstanding. Vieira coming for his first start, I thought he was good as well. So it's a good performance by Arsenal. 1-0 to the Arsenal, but disappointing from Everton.
Very disappointing from Everton, and you could hear the pain, Super Kev, in their fans in some of the post, content stuff. Our good friends over at Toffee TV, of course, Ped and Baz, just in despair. And how seeing Chelsea and Manchester United in the mud is so much fun. It's so glorious. It's something that you could just completely wrap your arms around and savor and enjoy. I don't know what it is about Everton. Maybe it's because of you, Super Kev, but I think some of us Gooners have a little bit of a soft spot for them. And when you see a club of their stature kind of where they're at right now, it really is quite sad. However, for us to be able to go to a stadium where we really have suffered, they're a bogey team. And even over the last 2 seasons, Kev, where we've been really improving, we just couldn't beat one of the worst Everton sides on the planet. And to get a result in the manner in which we did, and I think Lone Star pointed it a little bit out before I put this next comment up. It felt like one of our most mature performances and perhaps one of Mikel Arteta's most mature in-game management performances. Before we get to that a little bit, I do want to talk to you about the biggest news, of course, when the team news came out, that Ramsdale was dropped and Raya started. I think you all know how much we love the Ramsdales on this show. There's no short love. Kev, you've been there before. You've been a superstar in a team. Even when you were at the Arsenal, the success that you had, other players coming in. Take us beyond the white lines when you see the team news in particular, knowing as well that Ramsdale has been, yes, he's made some mistakes, but he's been in the team of the year. He's been really kind of one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League, no doubt about that. This in particular for him is probably a really difficult moment. What are your thoughts on the switch at goalkeeper for this particular game at this particular time? Did it take you by surprise or were you expecting it?
Did it take me by surprise? I was surprised, yes. I was surprised. And then when I thought about it, Sophie, I thought to myself, it actually makes sense. And here's the logic I've got. With the Champions League game coming up, you want Raya to have some game time at some stage. One Carabao Cup game probably isn't enough. And if there's ever a time where Sophie, let me tell you, I got dropped. Rambo got rotated. So there's a difference, right? Because his performances have been very good. He's got all the game time he's needed and required. So now, against an Everton side who are going to put us under pressure, if ever there was a time where you could say, okay, I'll rotate Ramsdale, Rambo, you're going to play midweek, and I'm gonna start Raya against Everton. Why? Because they're going to put us under pressure, and I want to see how David Raya does in the team. So you can do that. Ramsdale, it will hurt because Ramsdale, possession is 9/10 of the law, Sophie. If you're starting Arsenal goalkeeper, you do not want to give your rival a chance to get in the team. But it's team first thinking. It has to be. And I think it was Martin Odegaard came out and said Ramsdale was first class how he took it. And that's the way it's got to be. It's got to be team first. If you put the team first, you just want the team to win, whoever plays. And Ray has been nice and quiet. He hasn't said anything, has he, in the background? So I think Mikel Arteta, you're right, Sophie, got this one spot on. Interestingly, I think Ramsdale will come back against PSV. But even after the game, I think Mikel Arteta came out and said, why didn't I do this before? Because, I could switch to keepers because Arsenal didn't miss a beat.
Kev, that comment from Mikel Arteta was absolutely, I thought that he was ruthless. I was talking to Lee Judges earlier today, and I was saying, wow, it's ruthless from Arteta. And Lee's always had that take where, and we've discussed it with Lee before, and I think you've kind of been on a different side of the fence, obviously, maybe from the player side, that he's ruthless with some players and maybe not ruthless enough with others. And here's my take on this. I felt like Mikel Arteta is the manager that absolutely 100% makes players prove they deserve to be in the team before they're given that huge opportunity. And I wanted your take on this because it's felt to me Martinelli really, I had that season where I was saying to you, Kev, why isn't he playing him? Eddie Nketiah had to wait his turn. Eventually he got it, has started playing. I don't know. And I don't know if this is the right way of thinking or not, but I think Raya hasn't earned it yet at the Arsenal to start this game at this time of the season. And the narrative that I'm not enjoying right away is the way some of the Arsenal fan base are absolutely, completely dismissing Ramsdale, like he's done nothing for the team, he's done nothing for the squad, that he's surplus to requirements, that Ray is the number one now, that he's the superior goalkeeper. I mean, I'm sorry, you cannot judge this Everton. This is the worst Everton. They are absolute garbage, this team. Raya was not tested. And I'm sorry, that comp on YouTube, I've seen Ramsdale hit pin balls like that too. I know his stats are better, Kev. Crosses, how he manages his box. There's a calmness about him. And I'm not saying he's not going to be Arsenal's number one eventually. But I don't know if he earned it. And to go and be finally kick Pickford off as the starter for England, be in the PFA Team of the Year, and then to be dropped, that is ruthless from Mikel Arteta. What's your take on that?
Again, Sophie, I got dropped, he got rotated. That's just the way. That's just the way it is. And you know what, Soph? You make a good point about Raya having to earn it. But the problem is, Sophie, at that position, you don't get a chance to earn it unless the manager wants to freshen things up. You understand? Because you got to be ready in training. We know Matt Turner last season trained like a Trojan, got his games in the Europa League, etc., Carabao Cup and stuff like that. But it isn't enough to get him up to speed. What you want to do with Raya, you want to make sure you keep Raya at that level by playing certain games. Now, there's never an easy time. Never an easy time to rotate your goalkeeper. But if we're honest, Sophie, we've seen Pep Guardiola do it. He's swapped his goalkeepers around at times. and there's nothing said. We just have to start getting used to this squad rotation. And yeah, it does make people uneasy at times because, we come from the school of you got to earn this or earn that. But trust me, this is all about squad now. And how we said it at the start of the season, how Mikel Arteta handles the squad game is going to determine how good we do this season. But for now, I think he's got it probably 90% right so far this season.
Yeah, I think I thought it was, we on the last conversation we had with Magic, we were talking about Fabio Vieira, for example, and how you and I didn't say he didn't deserve to start, but also in this squad, in this team, you want to have a couple of those X factor players to be super sub, right? And we saw Trossard come on and be that in the Everton game. Vieira is a player that has come on this season off the bench and done really, really well. Do you think, I know that outwardly they say that he took it well. You've put us in your shoes. You've been dropped, especially at moments where you think like you should be the main man. What would how do you think, is he really, yeah. Do you really think that he's thinking, me, I don't deserve that?
No, listen, I think he would be like any player. He's started virtually all the games anyway. So he's gonna feel a bit weird, isn't he? He's gonna feel, hold on a minute, I'm not starting for the Arsenal. But Wednesday, Soph, we get the Champions League music at the carpet. That's the one he's definitely gonna want to start in that one. So again, if you're not in this one, you want to be that Arsenal goalkeeper going out to that Champions League music. He's earned that, Soph. If he's not in that game, then I'm sure Rambo will question and go, hold on a minute. Do you know what I mean? But yes. I just think it's Mikel Arteta rotating Everton away. We want to be able to keep the ball a bit more. Rambo, you're going to play on Wednesday against PSV. Let whoever do the talking. Let all the noise go on. I've got two capable keepers, and I'm going to use you. That's what Mikel Arteta's probably said to himself. And you know what? I'm going to use you to the best of my ability, depending on who we play. Because there's going to be certain teams where Ramsdale's going to get preferential treatment to play. And now there's other games where Raya's going to play. And as fans, we should be more than happy. We're not throwing Ramsdale under the bus, not on this Highbury squad, because we love him and he is our number one. But we've got 1A and we've got 1B. And whoever plays, there is no drop-off. That's the other thing. So the levels are just going to go up.
How about my point of view on this, Kev, is if he doesn't get the start in the Champions League, I think Raya that will be the stamp that says Raya's the number one. If you don't give Ramsdale that start in the Champions League after he's been there for a couple of seasons, helping this team
he's earned that, right? Yeah,
he's earned that, and I think that would be an incredible move from Mikel Arteta at this point, because when you think about it, are we now talking about Ramsdale being our FA Cup and League Cup goalkeeper? I mean, exactly. there's something about it that kind of makes me feel uncomfortable even saying it out loud. And I know some of you, there's a lot of love for Raya in the live chat, 200 of you joining us at the earlier time. Thank you so much, at 5 p.m. in the UK, having to switch gears a little bit. Super Kev, I love competition. You and I have said over and over, there's not enough competition. We've got competition now in every single position, maybe except for Saka still, although some fans really want to see Reece Nelson get a little bit more game time. Saka seems like he needs a rest. He's potentially carrying that niggle. But it would be one of the most ruthless moves since Arteta arrived at the Arsenal Football Club if he chooses Raya over Ramsdale in the Champions League this week.
Yeah, it would be. Managers have to make tough decisions. Of course they do. But I truly believe, do you know, here's the funny thing, Soph. Do you remember when Emmy Martinez was at the club and we had two goalkeepers and everybody was saying, we could keep both the goalkeepers, can't we? 1A and 1B. Well, that's what we've got now, guys. We've got 1A and 1B. I don't think Rambo's put a foot wrong to say he's not the number one. Played for England last week, played really well, got to the weekend, finds out he's not starting against Everton, but we know why. Now, the key is he's back in goal on Wednesday. I truly believe he will be back in goal on Wednesday. And if he's back in goal on Wednesday, and then obviously after that game, Soph, look at the big game we've got on the Sunday.
Yeah.
Who starts in that? You would expect Ramsdale to start in that. But then after that, it's up to Mikel who he chooses dependent on the opposition. So having two keepers who are fantastic goalkeepers and probably got different abilities, different positives to their game. I think it's up to the manager to just make the right choice depending on the opposition. I haven't got a problem with just like players. And another player who we haven't mentioned, and we might mention him a bit later, and one negative was Martinelli going down. Now Smith Rowe gets a bit closer. Do you know what I mean? Emil Smith Rowe gets a bit closer to the game time. So he's going to be chomping at the bit. If Martinelli's out for an extended period of time, Martinelli's not going to be there. ESR's got to be saying, right, I'm going to get my chance. Again, when you get your chance, you've got to take it. But Mikel Arteta, as I said, 90% of the time, I think he's got it right, Soph. And this will be an interesting one come Wednesday.
Well, I certainly think he's gotten to the position where we need, or I guess he's earned our trust in terms of the big decisions that he's making. And a couple of folks in chat are saying that actually the North London derby will give them a bigger indication as to who's closer, to that number one spot. I would say based on last season.
I don't think so. Come on, guys. So you're telling me if Rambo plays in the Champions League, what happens then? Because I'm sure that's the one everybody wants to play in, is the Champions League. If Rambo plays in the Champions League and then, let's say Raya, for argument's sake, played against Spurs, does that mean Raya's number one when Rambo's played in the Champions League? I don't think so.
It's going to be interesting to see. Definitely lots of Gooners were taken by surprise with that one. The good news is no mistakes. Playing against an absolute rubbish Everton team, not troubled at all, but still when he had to, play the ball out and, come for a corner, he did it. He did it flawlessly. He did it flawlessly.
Everything he done, Soph, he done with quality.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Agree. All right, Monday Madness, top 5 talking points. That was number one for me and also for a lot of Arsenal fans out there. Super Kev, you mentioned Mr. Martinelli, goal disallowed, which, by the way, Kev, can we just talk about that real quick before we get on to who came on and replaced him? Can you please explain that to me, Kev?
Yeah, I can. VAR strikes again, Soph. Sophie, I don't know who's on these VAR things. But that was an absolute scandalous decision. Absolutely scandalous. Because if it comes off, I think it came off Beto where it went forward and Eddie got the ball. But it's not played by an Arsenal player. It's played by an Everton player. So he's got to be onside. So how they say he's offside, Sophie, I just don't get it. I don't get it. You've got technology for a reason, but it's when the technology is being used incorrectly and getting decision, big decisions wrong, it's unacceptable, Soph. And we keep talking about VAR week in, week out, Sophie, and it gets no better. It's rubbish. It's rubbish.
Yeah, it really is. And BX Gunner, you're right. It was an exquisite goal disallowed by poor officiating. And it felt like, Kev, I said that VAR has become, you're at a party, you're having a great time, everyone's in a great mood, that is so positive, and then someone shows up with all of their negativity and literally is such a killjoy. They take all the fun out of the party. That is VAR. That is what VAR has become. And it felt like we did take a little dip after that. And then we took a major dip, I thought, after Martinelli's injury. But Super Kev, in previous seasons, such occurrences would have been an absolute disaster. And AFC Wallpapers, you can follow at AFC Wallpapers on Twitter here. I love some of the images that they've given us to be able to share. This fella comes on, a fella that a lot of Arsenal fans were screaming for after the pre-season, Super Kev. Impressed. Of course, he impressed us all when he came in the January transfer window. And we fell in love with him instantly. That £100+ million player at Chelsea is struggling real bad. And our £20+ million player here just comes on, does the business, shines, knows, that he's going to get his chance, clearly has a good relationship with the manager. And I thought was absolutely, had some poor touches, no doubt about that, Super Kev, points in the game. But my goodness, I love this guy. I absolutely love him. How did you think he did, Kev, when he finally got his chance to be back in the team?
Yeah, I love Trossard. I think this is his season, if I'm honest with you. And I know there has to be rotation. Of course, there has to be. He's a different player to Martinelli. Martinelli can go inside, outside. Trossard, he's a schemer. He's so clever in what he does. Very good operator. And he can finish. And the more we get him opportunities in and around the opposition box, I think, like I said before, I think this is going to be his season. I think he's going to, if he can get a run in the team, Soph, I think he will score and assist a lot of goals for Arsenal. Because he's that type of player who not only can he pick a pass, he's got an eye for goal. And I believe in this guy. I really do. And again, it's another steal at 21, 27 million? It's cheap as anything. But Belgium international, great feet, good player who can play multiple positions again. And he's our match winner, Soph. He put the Goodison Park hoodoo to bed. And no wonder Mikel's giving him such a big hug, because that's our old club. And Arsenal have got over the line. So fair play to Trossard. Fair play to him. But you know what, Soph? No moaning. He doesn't moan. He gets on with it. And he's come up trumps. Fantastic.
Totally. Player of the match, he was as well. And, I love Kev. And this other shot, of course, is courtesy of our good friend Gunnerballs as well. His signature, looking into the distance with the goggles. Kev, I love our bench. You go into games, and when something like that happens to Martinelli, you feel more confident. I don't know why. I mean, this particular game at Goodison Park, I never felt that we were ever in any danger. I always felt like we were going to grab a winner somehow, some way. And the more, the season goes, the more you kind of look at that bench and you think, he's got ingredients. He can make the omelette different ways. And you said it with the goalkeeper, you said it with other players. A player that we missed, for sure, Super Kev. And for me, he was the man of the match. Talking point number 3 here on Monday Madness. You talk about missing players in the squad. Zinchenko is a player that you have lambasted fans on as well when they were screaming for Kieran Tierney to start because he's a better defender. And also just the way he reacts in games, Kev, I just loved after the corner, which felt like it went a little bit wrong, whatever they had practiced on the training room in training. They seem to have corrected it and got it back pretty quickly. And of course, it ended in a lush goal. So many pretty touches by a variety of different players. His relationship with Mikel, there seems to be a real bromance there, no doubt. Talk me through, if you agree with me or not. I thought Zinchenko was our best player. What he does is so unique. Talk me through Zinchenko. I know, of course, how much you love him, but I just thought having him back and the way he's playing is just integral to everything Arteta wants to do.
Yeah, you know, I have battled some of the squad he's on. Zinchenko's inclusion in the squad and team, I have. And, you know, I understand. I mean, we've battled at times, so haven't we? Do you remember Liverpool last season where, you know, should we have took him off earlier and stuff like that? This guy makes us better when we've got the ball. We've got to dominate the ball. He's a fullback who plays in midfield, and he makes a huge difference to us in midfield. And you know what nobody really talks about? The connection him and Declan Rice are having in the middle of the park. Because Declan Rice seems to be everywhere, but Zinchenko is that little bit of glue that just tidies everything together, knits everything together with Declan Rice and Ødegaard in there. Those three seem to just be able to work their triangles and work the intricate passing. And this guy, Zinchenko, is the key to that. And I understand, is he a better defender than Kiriti? No, he's not. But he gives us so much more than being a defender. That's why we had a title charge last season. It's because of Zinchenko and how different we play. Difficult for teams to dominate against us when we have dominant midfield and we can overload it. I thought that's where Everton came unstuck. Everton couldn't lay a glove on us because when they came to press, we could beat the press. And yeah, you know what? We're not ruthless yet, but I want the ruthlessness to come as the season progresses, because it's not how you start. We've got to stay in there, but we've got, when it gets to Christmas and part beyond Christmas, and then the running, that's when we've got to be ruthless and be able to wipe teams out. But so Zinchenko is one of the. Is your man of the match? That's fair. My man of the match was Declan Rice, if I'm honest with you. I just thought he ties everything together so well. He's heading balls, you know, he's in front of strikers, he's heading balls, he's breaking things up in midfield, he's driving up the pitch. I just think we've got an all-action performer there who, again, when Thomas Partey's not there, we've struggled, haven't we? This guy's got the legs, he's got the temperament, he's got the devilment, he's got the power to make us formidable and really take the game away from the opposition. And I thought him and Zinchenko and Ødegaard to a point was so good yesterday. Everton didn't have an answer for them.
I'm going to get to our captain in just a sec, Super Kev. Rice was the next on the Monday Madness top 5 talking points. What a player. Okay, for the first time ever in 2 or 3 games, 2 games at least, it's the first time I haven't thought about Thomas Partey once. Not once.
Yeah. Because you always say, don't you, oh, we miss Thomas. If Thomas was there, you know, you don't need to say that anymore.
No.
But and that's a compliment.
Huge.
To our recruitment and the manager, Edu, and Richard Garlick and all the guys. I was sitting right by them yesterday. We, you know, had a good chat with them. Pat Rice, David Miles in front, the Arsenal contingent. Wonderful people. But we've got to say they've got their recruitment right, Soph. That's important. You know, they've got it correct. Declan Rice looks as though he's been at Arsenal for years, Soph. You know, he's just slotted in, hasn't he? Effortlessly. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, he's so effective. His tracking back to win a lost ball is unbelievable. And you know what I like about him, Super Kev, as well, is he takes the opposition by surprise. He takes a lot of balls off players from behind. He'll just as they think they're going to make a pass, he's there to just take that ball away from them. And you know, a lot of the argument has been: is he going to play in the Xhaka role? Is he going to be the box-to-box guy? Is he going to be the DM? He can be anything he wants to be in this team, and this team can utilize him for whatever is needed. So yeah, just another special performance from a player who looks like he's been a Gooner his entire career. And genuinely, it feels like so real. It feels like he's so happy at the club. And it's quite the protection also. I feel like Odegaard, and I tied them in together because my next talking point is the captain. Yeah. And I don't know about you, Kevin. Tell me from the player point of view. Am I seeing things, or is Odegaard better with Declan Rice in this team?
I think he is. I think Odegaard's a better player now. So I think he's a better player now. And I think he's asked to do a little bit more movement. Because if you remember last season, he was kind of stuck on the right-hand side a lot of the time. He was stuck there, and that's where he operated. Now, you see him moving from the right. He can move into center. He can move to the left. He can kind of go where he likes. Why? Because he's got that protection of Rice in the midfield, who, if he gets caught out of position, Rice has the legs to get out to where he is and crash the ball, win it back, and start again. He is so athletic. He's got so much power, so much legs that he frees up Odegaard to be even more, improve his game more, to be better, to again go into spaces where the opposition can't touch him. And he is a really, really top player, Odegaard. Yeah. I still think he's underrated, so I do.
I do too, and I posted something today on the old X. I still call it Twitter, because I was shocked that Gary Neville was lauding Martin Odegaard. And you've said many times, and we've had the conversation about how we stole him from Real Madrid. I mean, we stole the guy completely. Yeah, we went in there with the balaclavas and we absolutely just ripped them off completely, didn't we? It was
big time.
And he seems much more confident. I mean, when I see him, there's a picture I wanted to put on, and sorry, there is a little bit of a delay on my end, but what I love is him in the background in this image of Trossard celebrating.
You know what, Soph? It looks like 3 different photos in one.
It does.
Because you got Trossard going one way. Look at Odegaard. It's like he scored, celebrating, and Zinchenko, you know where he's going. Look at him.
He's running off to see the gaffer there, Zinchenko. He's
going to see Mikel, and he's going to point at him. But you're right, Soph. Odegaard, you know what? He's maturing in front of our eyes, Soph, as a captain. I believe he's maturing. We've not seen the beautiful thing, Soph. We've not seen the best of him yet.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many of these players we haven't seen the best of. They're all going to grow together. And let's just hope this Arsenal dynasty sticks together for a long, long time. Because if they do, listen, we better strap in, because it's going to be a hell of a ride. These guys are all going to be world class together.
I'm absolutely ready for it, as are the rest of the Gooners as well. I mean, just great stuff. I love watching him play, and you know, he's getting the respect that he deserves. But I completely agree with you, Kev. He's still, for some reason, just a little bit going under the radar and underrated. But what else did you notice in the game of any player? Of course, you know, we're going to talk about Trossard's goal. Rice continues to just elevate and grow. How did you find the back line? They weren't really troubled. I felt like Ben White had an exploration kind of game. He was getting up front. He was taking shots. It was a shame that big shot he took went straight at the goalkeeper, because that would have been amazing. But it felt like they were experimenting with maturity in the game, Kev, going back to what I was saying at the top of the hour, rounding up our top 5 talking points, is the in-game management, the maturity from the players, the not, losing faith in the fact that we were somehow going to get a goal and win this game. What's your take on that? I just felt like to see this 1-0 Arsenal, 1-0 to the Arsenal, we love that. We're old school. What did you think about some of the other players and the in-game management?
I thought as well. Just moving on from what, sorry to tack on to what you said. The key to it was Saliba and Gabriel. Beto is a big physical specimen up front for Everton, and they battled Beto all day long. So when you're battling Beto, the key then is the second ball. You've got to pick up the second ball, and then you've got to be able to move that ball around to nullify Everton's energy. Do we go and press? When they go and press, Arsenal just passed it around them. And for me, that was vital. That's why Ben White, in the end, could go, I'm getting on my bike here. I'm going to go and support Saka. When Saka goes inside, I'm getting on my bike on the outside. Plenty of forays down the right-hand side, which obviously, as a centre-half, he weren't going to do when Thomas Partey played there, but there was no Zinchenko. The balance of the side just seems so much better with Zinchenko there. And Ben White at right back, doesn't it? So, again, we're seeing Ben White get forward. We're seeing Ben White, I think Hulsey said Ben White was his man of the match, which, he did perform. He was up and down. He didn't put a foot wrong. Well, there was many Arsenal defenders who didn't put a foot wrong because we were so dominant. We dominated that ball. The performance was so professional. So professional yesterday. And if it wasn't for VAR, it would probably, I said 2-0, it would have been probably 2-0 to Arsenal. But as you know, Sophie, you said it, we are old school. 1-0 to the Arsenal works. It does work. But again, the key was that defence, the two centre-halves had to be able to deal with that ball into Beto, and they dealt with it absolutely brilliantly.
Excellent. Now, the player I wanted to leave until last was a player I mentioned at the top of the show, and a player I heavily criticised. I criticised last season. I think a lot of Arsenal fans thought he was a bit weak-sauce, didn't really take his chances when he was given his chances, felt a little out of place. Maybe not inferiority complex, Kev, but he's wearing the shirt. You talk about the weight of the badge. This season, coming off the bench, he's been great. Finally gets a shot to start. As a footballer, seeing a player like him, he looked stronger, and he looked like he had arrived. Fabio Vieira, Kev, a lot of fans actually said, it's a waste of 35 million. I wasn't sure last season. Again, here's a player who's come in, seems improved, physically seems improved as well. What's your take on Vieira's performance? And again, I take it with a pinch of salt because I'd like to see him do that in the North London derby, but will he? What's your take?
Sophie, I think a lot of these waste of 35 million people, they should check themselves, shouldn't they? I mean, a lot goes to giving somebody time, giving somebody an opportunity to develop. Last season, back end of last season, I think he started against Southampton and couldn't put a foot right, could he? And everyone was, he should go on loan. We should get rid of him. To give him a chance, it does take a bit of time. The Premier League is unforgiving. It's physical. It's so fast. It takes a bit of time to adjust. I believe he's adjusted now, so. I really believe he's adjusted now. He's had a good pre-season. I think him scoring that penalty to win us the Community Shield was big for his confidence as well. And every time he's got on the pitch, he showed us something. I thought he was very good yesterday, without being outstanding. I thought Vieira, he looks the part now, Soph. The Vieira we want to dominate games, like if he gets off the bench, I think that might take a little bit more time. He has to play more games. But again, Kai Havertz was rotated. Vieira came in. There's a Champions League game in the week. Kai Havertz will probably come back for that. As we've discussed it previously, so I believe Kai Havertz will be better in the Champions League because he's used to that type of football. Probably a lot more. So Arsenal going to be all right. Vieira, I thought, had a decent game, and you know he's there to prove people wrong. So that's for sure. He is.
Yeah. No, I think it's an interesting take. And again, even though he's done well, there's still a long way to go. You know, like I said, I want to see him do it against bigger teams. And I agree with you. We talked about Kai Havertz and the value that he's going to bring in the Champions League. Everything slows down a little bit, which is going to be right up his alley. Definitely thought that. I actually think Jorginho will feature maybe in a Champions League game here or there as well. When you're talking about experience, here's what I love, Kev, the most about all of this. For 2 seasons, a young Hale End lad has had to carry the Arsenal. Okay. And to see him not have that burden, even though he's been great, right? He hasn't really hit the ground running yet this season. And I almost feel like we're in a position, I thought we were in a position against Everton to rest Saka. I would have started Reece Nelson. If you're going to start Raya and rest Ramsdale, you know, if you're going to make these decisions, I felt like this was the perfect game to rest Saka. The challenge on Saka, Kev, was just and then if he complains, he's like, oh, you know, man up, boy. You know, this is the Premier League. Do you feel like what would you do with Saka right now, Kev? Would you have rested him against Everton? Of course he's going to play in the Champions League. Of course he's going to play in the North London derby.
So the problem we've got with the boy Wonder, he don't want to rest. He wants to play. He's never won at Goodison. Now he's got his first win at Goodison Park. You know, he's a competitor. He likes to compete, Soph. He does. And you see, and, you know, the treatment, and he's getting stronger. You could see he's getting tougher. He wants to, Sophie, he wants to win. He wants to play and he wants to win, which is a great thing to have. Yeah, you could say, at the back end of the game, you know, with 20 minutes, 15 minutes to go, you could take him off. But still, 1-0 is still, at Goodison, is still, can be dicey. So you want to make sure you have. If Arsenal went 2-0, then I think maybe you could change him. But he's a competitor, Soph, and he wants to play. He wants to be that guy for Arsenal. He really does. And I thought it was a hell of a battle with him and Mikalenko. Obviously, they played against each other for the Ukraine versus England, and then they play against each other, Everton, Arsenal. Yeah, Saka's a competitor, so he wants to play. I think, I'm not saying he'll sulk, but I don't think he'll be happy if Mikel Arteta ever rotated him, so to speak. I don't think he'll be happy. So I just think Mikel said, you're young, you play. Go on.
Well, I'm also going to go off Mikel's take last season, Kev. No one's being dropped. The subs are impactors, right? So this is the philosophy and the culture that he's building, and clearly the players are buying into it. And, you know, here we are.
Yeah.
Is it crazy, Kev? I was talking, this is a must-win game. We can't lose this game. I feel like I say that every week now.
Because they are so. They all are now. You know, Manchester City usually start slow. They haven't. They have started fast. So you've got to hang on in there, get in behind and just get in there. And then we know what's coming up, Soph. We know what's coming up. The big game's coming up. So we've got to be in position to see where we're at against them. That's going to be so big for us. But we've got to perform.
Yeah. Okay, squaddies, get your questions in because for the last 15 minutes of the show at the 8 o'clock hour, Super Kev is going to do some questions. So get your questions in and I will ask the Arsenal legend for you. So get your questions in as soon as possible. Super Kev, Tottenham really, okay, there's no denying that this manager has come in, he's lost Harry Kane and hasn't lost yet. It's not easy to do that in the Premier League, Kev. Mourinho couldn't do it at Tottenham. Conte, of course, you know, got them into the Champions League in the season that we were supposed to qualify, beat us 3-0. That was a horrible ending for us. But they haven't played anyone of any note yet, have they? Tottenham? As we go into this game, I know you can only play who's in front of you, but it seems like their defence is there for the taking. I'm still not sure about their goalkeeper. I wanted to touch on the North London derby with you a little bit because I know we've got a crazy week coming. I think this is the time for us to annihilate them, like a 5-2, like bring Tottenham right back down to earth type of game. Now, I say that with a lot of bravado, and, you know, some squaddies might come at me for that one. However,
Why would they come at you?
I don't know, because some of them
want it. Come on, let's be honest, squaddies. We would take 5-2, 5-1, 5-0, 5 this, 5 that all day long if we could. Spurs are on the crest of a wave, and do you know what? Fair play to them. You've made changes, you've got rid of your talisman, and things are going well for you. But we're on a different trajectory. The Arsenal at the Emirates, we're on a different trajectory. And there's nothing better than to pop the balloon of your rival. Nothing better, especially when they think they're moving forward. So I fancy us big time. I know, look, they're playing with a swagger. They're playing with a lot of energy. I fancy the Arsenal. I really do.
I do too, Kev, and I don't know why, but I've been thinking about this even before the Everton game. And I mean, look, they let's be honest, and we're all going to benefit from added time this season. There's no doubt about it. I mean, they beat Sheffield United 2-1, but if it was last season, that would have been a horrible loss at home, and the narrative would have been a lot different. But I do fancy a thumping, Kev.
But Sophie, wasn't it their fans, especially after we beat Bournemouth, giving it loads about the celebrations? What's all this about Arsenal? You're celebrating like you've won the league. You've done this and that. I don't know if anybody saw Spurs' celebration going on. Remember, the celebration police were after us all last season. So,
yeah.
What about that? They beat Sheffield United at home, which you expect them to do. And they're all giving it all together. I mean, what's going on?
It was a bit embarrassing, wasn't it? But I did post something on the old Twitter sphere for the Arsenal Nation. Go check it out, guys. I created a little thing, and I've created this little. It's a new team, it's a new squad, and it's Team Salty, right? And I've created a little meme for everyone. You can go and use it, and it actually is kind of like a Christmas card, and it has 2, right? So you could put 2. Gary Neville from Sophie Nicolaou. Stay salty, my friend. And it's great. They're all salty, Kev. And we are creating more saltiness for the folks. And there's nothing more that they're all waiting for Tottenham to get a result against us. They can't wait. They still they still see Arsenal as the old Arsenal. Some of them still can't see us as the new Arsenal. They just want us to fail. They want us to just.
Well, they want us to fail, full stop.
Yeah. And I don't know why. I don't think I've ever gone into a North London derby feeling this confident. I just don't think Tottenham have been tested, and I've watched them. I've had to watch them because half my family here are Tottenham fans, and I fancy it. But let's start off these questions for you, because one of the questions. And if they don't come up, you guys don't worry about it, because there's a bit of a delay on my end, as I said. But someone's asking you, who would you start in goal? Confirm. I believe you said it when we were having the goalkeeper conversation. But Demsek wants to know, who would you start in goal in the North London derby?
Ramsdale. I would start Ramsdale. like I said, I think Ramsdale hasn't put a foot wrong. Totally understand Raya getting some minutes and a game, 90 minutes under his belt. Everybody could see what he can do. Was very comfortable, was very assured. But Ramsdale's going to play in the Champions League and the big one in the North London derby. Again, I don't think he deserves to lose his spot in that big game. And who knows, after that, I think there might be a Champions League game the week after or whatever, or a couple of weeks after. And I think you might start seeing Raya play away from home in the Champions League.
All right. Jaffa Raza wants to know, apparently Chelsea and Bayern Munich, start with the Chelsea, are monitoring the Rambo situation. 100 million, would you take it, Super Kev?
Well, the window's just closed, so no. We can't take it yet. I think there's the problem with this is if you get rid of one, then you have to bring another one in. You have to bring another goalkeeper in who has to have the experience. I think these two keepers are young enough to be able to go head to head for seasons to come. And you need that big squad. I can't stress this enough. We need that big squad, and we need to be able to rotate our goalkeepers, and there be no drop off. No drop off when we put another keeper in there. There can be no drop off. And you know what it also does, Sophie? It also keeps the opposition guessing who's going to be in goal.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing. So they might scheme for Ramsdale and Raya plays. So then they have to rejig something. And being unpredictable, I think, is what Mikel Arteta really likes in his selections. So he's just added another selection headache for himself, but a scheming nightmare for the opposition.
So just so you guys know where I got my latest prediction from, Kev, I'll share it with you. Hold on one second, you guys. It's let me bring it up here. I was playing a game of this with my little nephew, whose dad is a Tottenham supporting fan. And he's the one that wants to build me an Arsenal hotel. He said to me the other day, he goes, Auntie Sophie, I want to build you an Arsenal hotel. And his dad heard, and his dad yelled, and he's like, yep, we're going to curse every single room if you build her an Arsenal hotel. Anyway, we played a little foosball here, Super Kev, and I beat the little bugger 5-2. And I thought to myself, that's great, Juju, right there. I'll stick with that. Hence,
stick with that 5-2.
That's right, absolutely. No problem. No problem with that. Right. Let's get another question.
One thing we can say. Tottenham have performed before against Arsenal until they've got to the Emirates. Let's hope let's make sure it's the same. We need the same feeling that they come there and the lights are so bright for them. And some of their players, it's the first North London derby, Maddison and all those guys. All right, let's see how you go. Let's see how they all go.
I mean, I know the manager will say in his pressers, Super Kev, well, I've managed the Old Firm derby. And it's big, it's massive. I mean, it's hostile. There's no doubt about it. I went to one. I've been to one Old Firm derby in my lifetime, and it's pretty intense. But the stakes aren't as high. I don't care what anyone says. With respect, the stakes just aren't as high. And that's what he'll say. But he's never managed a North London derby, and it's totally different. It's totally different. N. Gibbs wants to know, if we win a trophy, which one will it be, Super Kev?
Well, we've not won the Champions League before, so that would be nice, wouldn't it? Do you know what I covered, Soph? I covered the Premier League. That proves you're the best team in this country, in this league. And you know what? We haven't won it for such a long time. We need that one. And we don't want City winning it 4 times in a row, monopolising it. So, it's going to be a tough ask. We know it is, because look at the way Liverpool are going. Some really good teams in this league. But, we've got to get our heads on it. And if it was one, it would be the Premier League. If not the Premier League, the Champions League, obviously.
Kev, do you think it's easier to win the Champions League than the Premier League?
In a sense, yes, because there's less games. And the draw can determine you a better path. But the tournament anyway. But we've seen teams who are doing well at the start of the Champions League fall off come the end and not make it. So we've seen that happen, and then you can get drawn. So there is a little bit of luck element in there. You still have to win the games, but the English Premier League will test you for 30 odd games. Make no mistake. Don't matter who you play. Going to Goodison Park, with the way we professionally done it yesterday, we've come unstuck there. We haven't won there for 7 goals. Do you know what I mean? That's how hard it is to win a Premier League title. So, and Everton have been struggling. So the Premier League is the hardest to win, definitely.
All right. Kev, I've got to put this one up because a lot of folks have written to me and some DM'd me today about this Sky making a narrative. Did they make a half-hour show out of this, squaddies, today? The 26 seconds it took for us to take the corner. Never said anything about Newcastle's time wasting over the last couple of seasons. Kev, 26 seconds to take a corner. We're adding 12 minutes to games. What do you make of all of this?
Send me the salty card. Let me write it up. Let me write it up, Sophie. I absolutely love it. Because when other teams do it, nobody says a thing. When Arsenal do it, look at Arsenal, look what they're doing. But they don't say nothing about the VAR, do they? The decision that goes against you when Arsenal should have been up already. They don't say anything about that. And that's no disrespect, obviously, to me old club Everton. But that was a goal. That was a goal. And VAR robbed us of a goal. Yeah. It happened, Sophie. So 26 seconds. Next time, Arsenal, take 36. let's get them salty cards written up.
I love it. I'm going to make them Christmas cards for us this year.
Damn
too,
right.
Kev.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be our Highbury Squad Christmas card. Just to riff off the Champions League question real quick. I was going to put this up from Seb, but wanted to ask that other one. Would you take a Champions League win and 5th place in the Premier League? What does that say about?
No.
Didn't hesitate
Champions League
there,
win
Seb.
and 5th place? No. We've got to be, Seb, minimum. This is a basic season for us now. We've got to be in the top 4. That's it now. We've proven when you come second one year, you've got to be in that top 4 every year again now. This is why, and we've spent 200 odd million. Come on, we've got to be in there. I'll take the Champions League win as well if you don't mind, but it's got to be top 4, Seb.
Yeah, I think I felt about this differently maybe, but a couple of seasons ago, because you're not going off any, I say success loosely, but I feel like we've improved so much. So to finish 5th would feel like a real regression in the league, and I don't think that we.
You'll be a downer.
I don't think that we can have that. Here's one for you from Amira. Do you think the idea that goalkeepers aren't traditionally subbed is because they don't do much? Oh dear. Don't let Bob Wilson hear you say that. It's probably more mental than physical fatigue, especially when a single moment can change the game. I agree about the mental side. Kev, what's your take?
No, you've got to remember, Amira, goalkeepers are your last line of defence. And it's such an important position. And it may look like they're not doing much. But as you see now, they're the extra defender at the back now. When the ball comes to their feet, they're so instrumental in picking the right pass so the team can get out from a press. It's so important now. They're more involved. So that position is key. And you know what? Having 2 keepers who can help us is vital moving forward. Because you look at some of the other teams. If they lost their number 1 goalkeeper, their number 2s, are they good enough to carry the team for a season? We know ours, both of ours can. So I think we've done really well to get these 2 keepers in.
I mean, and some keepers are playing like a sweeper, Kev.
Well, that's the thing. As I said, to be able to keep the ball at the back and beat the press of the opposition, these guys like we've got are vital to it.
Lone Star Londoner, hope all's well down there in Texas. Who starts up front on Wednesday? The goalkeeper issue, which isn't subversive, masks this question. Yeah, good point. Kev?
No, I think Jesus starts. I think, again, Jesus could be on the bench for this one against Everton. But Champions League comes around. I think Jesus comes back for the huge game at the Emirates against PSV.
Yeah. I like this question. I know Demsek's already asked one, but I do like it. How many Spurs players get into a combined 11? I don't think any.
Well, do you know what? I suppose it's subjective, Soph. For me, I take none. If I'm honest, I'll stick with the Arsenal squad if you don't mind. But for some, you could say Son will get in on our left-hand side. You could say that. I know a lot of Arsenal fans before he went to Spurs, before he went to Spurs from Leicester, Maddison was a name on people's tongues who said, Maddison could do a bit. Is Maddison better than Odegaard? I wouldn't take Maddison. I wouldn't take that. No, thank you. So again, I think it's subjective, so you could make a case for a couple of the Spurs players. Of course you can. But I'll take our Arsenal side all day long. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, it's coming in so thick and fast that I don't have time to put them all up, Kev. But it's basically 0 for most, and Maddison comes up. And I even think Son wouldn't get into this team this time around. As Son 2 seasons ago, I would say 100%.
Well, so let's ask them then. Okay, the ones who have said Maddison and Son, who do you drop from the Arsenal team to accommodate them?
I mean, for me, for the first... Well, let's see.
Yeah, let's see what they say.
For the first time, I think that if Kane was still in that team, that's an easy answer. Harry Kane would be the one. But...
he'd be the only one, really.
He'll be the only one. Kev, I know you like salty questions, and I don't know if this is an Everton fan, G-Fed, but I'll put it up anyway. Seems to be one of those. We've got a salty card ready for G-Fed. By the way, aren't you guys loving how this thing could be a thing? We're sending salt cards to, we're going to send one to Warren Barton eventually, Jason Cundy, all our good friends of the show are going to get a salty card. Should Kevin Campbell make an effort to fully understand the offside laws?
I don't mind that, G-Fed. I fully understand the offside laws, and if a defender or the defending side plays a ball back towards their own goal, i.e. a back pass, and the striker is beyond the defense, how can he be offside? He can't. It's impossible. He can only be offside if his side play the ball forward. Only. So maybe you need to learn the offside
rules. So Nick, to answer your question, is saying Basuma, Maddison, Bentancur, Son and Kulusevski makes a great bench. That's brilliant, isn't it?
Well, don't forget, we were linked with Basuma at one stage, who's starting to look a bit like his old self now, isn't he? He's starting to play a bit freer in midfield. But, you look in the positions where they play. No. I'll take the Arsenal 11 all day long.
Yeah, we've got The Robots Will Eat You. It's a great screen name, let's be honest. Maddison for the convenient dives. GD says Maddison for Kai. Magic Mike is asking if Maddison can play a left 8. 10 Wang says it's hard to think of anyone. 47 49er is saying, I'm not taking Maddison over. I'm not taking Maddison over Vieira. Yeah. And Nelson's saying, yeah, people will see how bad Maddison is at transition defending when he goes up against us. The reason why I've never wanted him nor Tielemans.
It's a good point.
Can't argue with that, can you, Kev?
That's a good point. And I think Arsenal on Sunday are going to really test that Spurs midfield, because I truly believe they're a one-way midfield. Do you remember how we were a few seasons ago, Soph, where we say we're good with the ball, but we're so bad when we haven't got the ball? Against the better teams, we always get... This is what I think Spurs are right now. I think Spurs, attacking-wise, they've got all the talent, but as soon as you turn it over and you cut through them, they are wide open. And that's why, Sophie, I think you want us to absolutely take them apart.
I really want it so bad. After beating my beautiful nephew Leo 5-2, you know, I fancy it. I really do. Gunners Talk TV says, hi Sophie and Super Kev, love the show. Son and Maddison on the bench only. The truth is they should be asking how many Arsenal players get in their team. All of them. Wes Bird, among many others, are loving the salty card ideas. I'd take Richarlison to teach the young'uns in the under-18s on how not to finish, says Oh gosh, I love it. I think you get the gist of it, Super Kev. A basic question here, but someone is asking you, let's see, will we win the North London derby? I think the question is, what do you think? You want to know what Kev's prediction will be, which he might not share this Monday. I think he might share in a few days.
I'll share it later. I think Arsenal win. I think Arsenal win convincingly. If we don't score 3 goals, I'll be disappointed. Just put it that way. Say the least.
Kev, I did ask you this at the top of the hour. I think some folks joining late as well. 300 of you in live chat. Thanks so much for joining us at our awkward Monday Madness hour. We will resume our Monday Madness schedule next week at the normal hour. But how did you feel about the comments Arteta made about wanting to swap the goalkeepers in game? Did that take you aback? One of the things I liked about what he said was that he admitted he had no courage to do it. And I feel like for him to admit that and to look at maybe, you know, moving forward, how he wants to really manage the team, he's gaining his own confidence himself. I thought that was a personal growth moment for him, who's been kind of accused by me in the past, you know, couple seasons ago of being an egomaniac a little bit and maybe not being open enough. What do you think, to answer Seb's question?
I think it's a very big call, Soph. You know, in game to change a goalkeeper when really you could be changing outfield players. Do you know what I mean? If depending on the game, you're really looking at your bench as, you know, you said it before, impactors. Is your goalkeeper going to be that much of an impactor if you change him? So, you know, it's a big call to be able to do it. And one, now that he's made that call to rotate goalkeepers, it will be interesting to see if he would ever do it in game, because usually you only do it in game if one of your goalkeepers is injured or one of your goalkeepers. Usually, even if the goalkeeper's having a stinker, so if you don't make that change. So it will be interesting to see if he does it.
You know, there are managers who have been innovators. You can go back to the Cruyff days. I mean, Pep has learned from Cruyff. I mean, even managers like Saki, and I mean, there are other, Jaap Heynckes. There's been game-changing managers that have taken a little of everyone. And clearly, Arteta sees the game, he's future ready. But I don't think he needs to overcomplicate things in order to win. And I think once he wins something big, he'll have that freedom and maybe even more of that courage to do. I thought it was a very brave thing to say publicly, actually. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. Okay, couple more here for you before we close the show. Where is that? I like this question from Evgeny. Which team is the strongest opposition against Manchester City in the Premier League in one game? Is that us, Kev, or is it a bogey team, Tottenham?
No, it's us and Liverpool. And I say us solely because we're the team who challenged last season, and we're the improving team. That's why I say us. But the team who's had the sign over them has been Liverpool. Liverpool have got the firepower to beat anybody. Liverpool beat City regularly at Anfield, and they've done well against Man City at the Etihad over time. So I think us two are probably the most that Man City fear. If there's ever a fear, they're looking over their shoulder at Liverpool and Arsenal and saying they're going to be our closest competition for sure.
Cool. This one from Matthew D'Souza. The start of the season, I read some journalists seeing Ange Postecoglou as another Martin Jol and that he'd be perfect to wind up Arteta. How do you guys see that dynamic in the dugout? Is that his style, Kev? I'm not sure.
No, it's not. It's not his style. I don't think he's that type of manager. He wants his team to play expansive football. He wants his team to play attractive. He wants his team to score goals, and he wants to play on the front foot. I think that's gonna Mikel Arteta's gonna love that, especially if they come to the Emirates with that attitude. I think he's gonna love that.
Do you find it hard to?
And we should.
Yeah,
we should love it if they come like that.
Totally. Yeah. It's a little bit like the coach of Colorado State trying to go at Deion Sanders with the sunglasses. Why you're a coach? Why are you wearing sunglasses?
And I was taught. My mum taught me take off your hat and your sunglasses when you speak to adults. I mean, come on.
Come on, man.
It's a game of footy, man. Come on.
It's totally a game of footy. Okay, let's end on a fun one, shall we? Because I tell you something, I'm enjoying seeing Man United in the mud more than Chelsea. I don't know about you, Squaddies and Super Kev, but it's so beyond glorious. The humiliation, losing to Brighton in the manner in which they did at Old Trafford. Oh, my goodness. Now, some people will say, Kev, well, Mikel Arteta was given an opportunity in time. Ten Hag deserves an opportunity in time. I think he does. A lot of people say, well, at least with Mikel Arteta in his second season, you started seeing some type of an identity. What is Manchester United's identity? Which manager do you think will get the sack before January? Ten Hag, Deitch? Well, who's your money on, Super Kev? And we don't want anyone to lose their livelihood, but they get a nice package when it happens.
Listen, I think both of these managers are going to be fine. I think Manchester United just aren't quite at the races at the moment, and but they've got too much quality not to improve. They will improve eventually. You know what, Pochettino at Chelsea, let me tell you, you spend £1 billion and no disrespect to Bournemouth, by the way, who I thought their manager might be on a bit of a slippery slope at some stage because, they haven't quite hit the ground running. For them to get a point against Chelsea at home is a good point for them. But for Chelsea, got done by Nottingham Forest and then you can't beat Bournemouth. I think the pressure's on Poch, I really do. And comes with a big reputation. So I know he's got a lot of good young players, but they've got talent.
Yeah.
Not happening for him at Chelsea.
Kev, they're so bad at even Sterling, to see him playing and snapping at chances the way he is. And I think when Lee and I did our show at the start of the season and I asked you about who would get sacked, I think I went for Poch. You can't, again, he's going to need time. Is Bowley going to give him time? I mean, I don't think he's had that much of an impact. I don't think there's been much improvement in the squad. And a little bit like Yeah, Kev. And is it like Manchester United? Are the institutional problems? And we've been through this as Arsenal fans, and they all pointed the finger at us and had a laugh at us and gave it the big un. And now I'm enjoying seeing this lot, just absolutely struggle, and they have institutional problems that I just don't think can get resolved on the field in such a short space of time. So
Sophie,
yes,
do you remember we talked about the pain? We talked about we have to go
yes,
through the pain. We
you
have to.
you talked about that.
No, but we discussed it, didn't we? Numerous occasions. We have to go through the pain to get the good. Chelsea have to go through the pain. United have to go through the pain. There's some of these clubs who haven't felt the pain. We've felt the pain, guys. We've had infighting. Me and you have battled on here with the. But now we're moving up, and we're moving up, and there's a feel-good factor about us. We're not even playing anywhere near our capacity. We're dominating games. We're winning games. We're unbeaten this season. We've had a little blip against Fulham, what we should have won. But hey, it does happen. But we take that. We've got the Champions League coming back to the carpet. So we've been through the pain. Is there potentially more pain to come? At times there will be a bit more pain. But the main part of the pain we have overcome. We've got through it. These guys are just going through it, so and there are going to be more pain for these guys. Let me tell you, there's a lot more pain to come. We know Spurs have gone through pain most of their lives, so we don't even worry about them. Chelsea and United, they've got a lot more pain to come, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Super Kev. Totally agree with you there. I have to say, it's hard to really hate on Postecoglou. I'm really working on it. I think I finally found something to latch onto, because bless this reporter from the local North London Greek newspaper, the Barigi, which has featured Super Kev. Super Kev was one of the favourites. They love the Arsenal. Some of them love the Tottenham over there. But bless him, he finally got into a Tottenham press conference and he talked about, I'm from the local Greek newspaper, and Postecoglou looked at him as if to say, I really don't give a what newspaper you're from.
We're against him now. That's it. We don't like it.
So that's made me hate him a little bit. I've got something to cling on to.
Listen, I've got to say, I like Ange Postecoglou, but not on Sunday.
Yeah, not on Sunday.
Sunday.
Yeah. We're not going to like him on Sunday.
Yeah.
Absolutely the enemy. There you go, Evgeny. There's your answer. Well, it's been a brilliant return to Squad Central. 1 hour and 25 minutes of magic here. Forgive the pun, because there could be a pun now, with Super Kev. And yeah, just really great stuff. Before I'm going to let Super Kev close the show, I really want you guys, if you're in the New York area or the East Coast of the United States or the Midwest and you're looking for kind of a winter Arsenal event, Dave Seeger is going to be in New York City promoting his new book with Poorly Drawn Arsenal, the Double Invincibubble book. And it is real fun stuff. It's going to be a great event. You guys should get tickets. I've pinned where you can get tickets from Eventbrite, and there's going to be a panel as well. You'll get to meet Dave, meet Poorly Drawn. And of course, when there's an Arsenal event in America, is he far away? No, Magic Mike will also be on the panel as well. Go meet the guys. It's going to be a phenomenal time. And Dave will be on the show on Thursday to talk about it, as will our really good friend, Marky Mark, who started a retro football shirt company, Super Kev. He's taken his passion. He's sick of working for other people. And he's like, you know what? This is my passion. So he started a little business. And as you know, Talented Gooners, we support our community, our people, our community. So we're going to support Dave's event. We're going to support Mark. And we're going to talk about the North London Derby as well on Thursday. Super Kevin Campbell, it has been absolutely fantastic being back talking football with you. I'd just like to take a very sweet, brief moment to thank everyone who's reached out asking about my mum. I really appreciate it. We have a long road ahead. I'm in Cyprus right now with my family. And as you know, you share with me, I share with you. We're a family here and we go through good times and bad times together. And I just wanted to say thank you so much. And we're back. And the show is a really good piece of tonic right now after just going through a couple of weeks of stuff. And Super Kev, it's been absolutely brilliant being back talking with you tonight. So why don't you close the show for us, and I will see you a little bit later this week, and you'll get glimpses of Super Kev this week as well when he can.
Yeah, so well, listen, again, family time is good time. Keep loving mom and your dad and everybody. You know, love all round people. Keep telling tell your loved ones you love them. Don't leave it to tomorrow. Do it today. Do it when you can, and keep it as a consistent, because love is our currency on the Highbury Squad. You know that. Listen, make sure you take care and look after yourself. Champions League this week, people. So be ready. Look out for Sophie leaving all the bits and pieces for you to latch onto. I'm sure there will be a few more shows. And you know what, squaddies? Thanks so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure coming on with you. And it was a little bit earlier today, but next week we'll be back at 8 o'clock. But until we meet again, squaddies, at ease, and we love you. Take good care. At ease, squaddies. At ease.
It's going to be a crash kind of exit. Prepare for it.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
Nothing's